was a time where Michael Bisping was the most hated fighter in the UFC.
Talk about my family. I never did that. Go home, loser.
I think that the knee was intentional, and I think
You doing intentional knee?
absolutely meant to spit on that guy.
He's spitting on people?
Hey, what the you do that for?
I could be a dick, I know I can. I look back and I cringe at some of the things I've said in the past. Constantly made mistakes, but I try not to make the same one twice.
Today, he is a Hall of Famer that many new fans will recognise
Hold on,
as
man.
the first British champ from the end of his career, even just as a commentator than from
Hold on, he the first British champ. I didn't know he from Britain. Oh, he from England?
any of his UFC fights. He indeed left a lasting legacy as the first ever UK champion, paving the way for several more to follow.
Oh,
But as
where?
a
I know
fighter
Leon.
and in the
I didn't
eyes
know
of
he was the
fans,
first ever
He has one of the
UK
most arduous and complex careers of perhaps anyone. And although he stands as a deserved legend in many fans' eyes, there was a time where he was the UFC's biggest villain. I'm Bailey, and from a main point, this is the story of Michael the Count Bisping.
Shout out to MMA on point, man. I always come with the 5 vids. But look, y'all was spamming Michael Bisping, man. Y'all was. I ain't gonna lie. It's a couple of people y'all spam. Y'all spam Michael Bisping. So look, we are here. Like, comment, subscribe, man. I appreciate everybody who support, man. We just hit 18K. I love y'all for that, man. But hey, Michael Bisping.
Chapter 1,
Put that right
Born
in.
a Fighter. There's so many things that happened to Mike, even from an early age, that would
Born a
really
fighter.
change and shape how he, as a young man, perhaps came to see the world. I think Mike makes it clear to anyone who asks that he is a fighter from a long line of fighters, a lineage that you can trace back hundreds of years. Whatever he was going to do with his life, that fact was not going to change. Especially in a pretty volatile household where apparently his family with 4 siblings and mom and dad would often get into arguments and confrontations. Mike has said previously that he'd get it from someone.
Growing up in our house, there was a lot of violence back in the day. My dad was, there was a lot of violence, let's just put it like that. So for me growing up, getting into a fight was very natural.
And being one of 5 kids with a lot of things handed down, you know, he ended up getting bullied at school, and Mike reacted in a different way.
Money was tight and there was a lot of bullying going on. Shoes falling apart and just not having the best clothes and stuff like that. And then I just remember one day thinking to myself, I'm not putting up with this anymore. And the next one that does it, the next person to talk shit, they're gonna get it. Anyone that talks shit, I started beating them up.
Bisping, by his own admission, says in his book that he got into fighting because he loved it. From the idea of becoming a fighter. He began training in Yawara-Ryu Jiu-Jitsu, which just so happens to be a blend of stand-up, clinch, and groundwork. He got completely obsessed with it, and with his parents being supportive, he got driven all over the country to compete, and he started winning all those competitions.
Coach at the time said that this guy one day will be a world champion in martial arts.
He actually became the youngest person in England to get a black belt in Japanese Jiu-Jitsu at just 15. Then Mike ended up in 1994 getting into a really early version of UK MMA called Knockdown Sport Budo, and he became a champion in that as well. At 16 though, he had to start making a living somehow.
I left school at 16, did a string of dead-end jobs. You name it, I've done it. Factory work, stuff like that. But you would do 60, 70 hours a week. And at the end of it, no money. You know, it was barely scraping by. So we would live for the weekend, just get hammered drunk.
It's enough to make anyone super depressed and angry. And once Mike started going out with his mates drinking in town, fighting only became more a part of his life.
And there's only me and Mike. And he said, see that pub there, Daz? I said, yeah. He said, I got thrown out of there. So that pub over there, 6 doormen started on me then.
I was a fucking arsehole, let's be honest. I was going out trying to fight everybody.
When he had his own place to live at just 18 years old, he experienced something truly terrifying. Someone broke into his house and tried to kill him.
I'm living in this little flat behind the greengrocers. And I'm just about to fall asleep. And I hear...
After a 3-night bender with his mates, Bisping fell asleep on the sofa to a knock on the window.
And a muffled voice says, John! So I open the door, CS gas in the face. And there's a guy standing there in my kitchen, black boots, black cargo pants, a black bomber jacket.
Obviously, anyone would be terrified, let alone an 18-year-old, but it got worse.
Holding a petrol canister, just with gritted teeth, and just throwing gasoline all over the kitchen and all over me.
Mike tried to call the police, but they didn't believe him.
He drops the petrol canister and he pulls his jacket to one side and pulls out a lump hammer. And I go at him and he swings the lump hammer and I move back and I just feel the wind of the lump hammer
Counter.
my face.
Bisping overcame his fear when he thought he recognised the man behind the mask and he chased him away. But he said about the whole incident, when you've been through something like that, competing in a sporting arena is not scary at all. But one altercation in the year 2000 ended badly and
Hold
nearly cost
on.
Mike his future.
See, but I gotta learn jiu-jitsu and boxing and everything. I need to come to my house. Nah, I'm gonna just put them down. I'm gonna go get the 8. No, I ain't gonna tell you what I got, but yeah, I'm gonna just put them down.
Girl, and he grabs her in like a full
I ain't doing no
nose.
fight.
I'm standing here like this. I can see the other one. He's getting closer and closer. Boom. Head kicked in. He hits the deck.
The police showed up at his house later.
Yeah,
knocking
head
on the
kicking
door,
him is
ready
crazy.
to take him in.
And I peer out the window, and there's like 3 cops at the door. The judge sentenced me to 28 days in prison, and I said to myself there and then, I said, that's it. Fucking done with this. I will never be back in this type of environment ever again, and I will never throw another punch in my life.
Mike then tried to join the army. His dad told him he'd be able to focus on sport, kind of like boxer Nigel Benn had done. But because of all his antics and the fights he'd gotten into, they turned him down. It was a massive wake-up call, and he decided to start following his passions again.
I was DJing a bit at the weekends. I was still, dabbling with the mixed martial arts. But then I came to a point, I was working hard all week, and then you pay your taxes, you get home, and there's nothing left.
And then one magical thing changed everything.
Yeah.
UFC
It'd be
38.
rough.
Now,
Matt
maybe
Hughes,
not
Carlos
directly, but
Newman.
the effect of the UFC's debut in the UK sent a ripple through combat sports across the country, and those ripples reached Michael Bisping. Mike was still working in an upholstery factory, and around this time, it was actually his boss who asked Mike to rethink his life.
I used to put settees into plastic bags and load them onto the back of a lorry. And my boss said to me, he said, Michael, you're clearly an intelligent man. Is this what you want to do with your life? You want to load settees onto the back of a wagon all your life? Is that what you want to do?
Because I did martial arts since I was 8 years old, been a world champion at this and that, and I thought the UFC's getting big. I fancy my chances. Lay it on me, Michael. What have you got? I'm going to be a professional fighter. And he was like, oh my God. He was like, I thought you were smart.
It's always that.
And then I told everyone back home, and I told all my friends, and I said, I'm going to be a professional fighter. Everyone was laughing at me. All my mates were taking the piss out of me.
Bisping reached out and emailed an old coach, Paul Davies, and it turns out he was putting together an MMA team.
He made me an
Oh,
offer. He said,
Davis.
if you quit work, move down to Nottingham, train here Monday to Friday, go home, DJ at the weekend to make a little bit of money. He said, if you can make it top 5 in the UK, I'll give you loss of earning.
Bisping believed that he could make a life for himself as an MMA fighter, but more importantly, also build a life for his family with his then future wife, Rebecca, and first child already born.
We're already...
Hey, man, when you get your wife early, that's the thing, bro. When you get your wife early, because she down for the ride. She down. She ain't just come out of nowhere. Is it just me, or does the British language, the language just sounds so cool to me? I don't know why.
lived in our overdraft, you know what I mean?
Mike quit his job and rededicated his life to training. He travelled up to Nottingham as early as his second fight. You can see
put
Bisping
hands on
has
that
this
boy.
built-in reaction to throw knees whenever his opponent goes down.
Yeah.
While this is legal, his opponent is dangerously close to being a grounded fighter. But it's okay. Surely he won't make that mistake again, right? Apart from that, though, Mike was an absolute force of nature who would just never stop.
he just
coming forward.
he just
And after
aggressive.
just 3 fights, he
I
fought
like
for the
it.
Cage Rage Light Heavyweight Championship at the Wembley Conference Centre in London, live on Sky Sports, which was a huge
He was
deal at the
big.
time.
I'm not surprised the amount of punishment it's taken.
He looked small with the suits on, but he looked big in the cage.
And that's it. Brown Woman calls it.
Mike's early career, he was basically unstoppable, with more skill, cardio, and heart than anyone.
It's that grit.
That's what makes him a champion. And he's doing the damage.
Oh,
This fight's so close
sleep.
to being over.
I'm like, okay, I'm getting somewhere. I'm on the right path.
My first 10 fights were stoppages in the first round, some of them like 30 seconds, Fueled off pure aggression, but more than anything else.
For as aggressive as Bisping was, we still saw sportsmanship from him, checking on his opponents after he'd smashed them. By the end of 2005, Mike was 9-0. Every single one of them was by finish.
Looks a bit stiff. Well, he's obviously going to be nervous fighting someone with Mike's reputation.
That kid was crazy.
Even though it was defended, I think we still feel a kick with that much power behind it. Mike's literally bullying Ross around at the moment. He's flicking his horns. It looks something to me.
Oh, he got an arm bar. Stoppage. I ain't
Bisping
know.
was the best light heavyweight in Great Britain. and it just so happened that there was an organization out there looking for 205ers. For season 3 of The Ultimate Fighter, they wanted light heavyweights, and they reached out to Bisping, and Mike was about to be handed a ticket.
Oh, he was on
all his dreams come true.
My name's Mike the Count Bisping. I've flown halfway across the world for this. I feel like I've got what it takes to make a real living out of this, you know, a real career.
The Ultimate Fighter at the time was getting
I didn't know he was on The Ultimate Fighter
on Spike TV, and overnight the MMA world got to meet the Count. But that wasn't the real issue. He ended up getting into a rivalry with Matt Hamill, a deaf wrestler and also a top pick to win the show.
Hopefully I can see myself and Matt in the final.
And this rivalry kind of escalated throughout the season. But the main issue Bisping had was that he thought coach Tito Ortiz was playing favourites.
It's pretty clear to see that Tito's favourite is Matt. It's getting me down a little. You know, I've flown halfway across the world to come to this thing. I expect to get the same treatment as everybody else. I think Matt is getting special attention at the gym, to be honest.
See, I ain't watched this Ultimate Fighter. Is that true? Whoever watches Ultimate Fighter, let me know in the comments. Is that true? Is he speaking the truth? Let me know what y'all think.
He was picked right from the start to be the winner by Tito, and I was picked to be a training partner for his champion, you know.
Come on, Michael, how much you want it, Michael? Come on. How much do you want it? You want to push yourself? Or do you always want to be second?
Bisping, though, then also accused Matt of trying to hurt people during the training sessions, but to a lot of the fans, it was Mike that came off as the kind of aggressor in training, especially as Matt was deaf and had trouble, you know, communicating.
Come with me.
Come on, go ahead, hey!
Sorry.
And when Bisping fought on the show, well, you remember how I said earlier he was dangerously close to throwing an illegal knee? I'm not trying to pick holes because Mike absolutely smashed Christian Rothermel apart anyway. But these were things that the UFC
he got him
fans at the
right.
time watching saw, and for a lot of them, you know, all anyone remembered from this season was Mike getting into it with the deaf Matt Hamill and looking like a bad guy.
The thing is, though, I can knee from there. You can't. Tell him that.
Nice.
Tell him that it's crazy.
What are you doing? Can't hear you, man. And time.
He keeps coming at me.
But you can't hear.
You
can't hear when I say stop. We gotta touch.
Yeah, but if I don't do anything, I'm gonna end up on the floor. Do you know what I mean?
Clearly, there was a competitive tension, but Mike also came across as having, you know, little sympathy.
I mean,
for
he
Matt's
can't
situation
really.
being deaf. The tension between
That's what I'm saying. Like,
built until during a submission drill, Bisping injured Hamill.
That wasn't my fault.
No, it wasn't. He turned his elbow out. It wasn't your fault. It wasn't your fault.
Mike, by the end of the season, decided he was in the wrong and apologized, but many fans didn't buy it because of everything he'd done on the show and the repeated nature of it all. So it's hard for people to see it as a genuine apology.
We're all a set of bastards. I'm the biggest. I'm a wanker. I've been big.
I'm a wanker.
We both want to win and we're both competitive.
I don't know why I love stuff like that, bro. He said, I'm a wanker. Bro.
I
think the whole thing with my fault because I give Michael a hard time.
Pushing. No, I'm the same, you see. So, and we're in, you know, and that's why we've clashed.
Bisping ultimately admitted that he tried to keep his integrity and dignity in the face of the show and the competition, but they had suffered a little bit. And sadly, you know, he'd made a pretty bad first impression for a lot of the fans. Matt Hamill would not meet Mike in the final, though. He was injured and had to pull out. Instead, Bisping would take on Josh Hayes, a guy he'd already beat, and he wasn't afraid to try and intimidate him.
Don't even bother turning up because it's going to be a one-sided beating.
Bisping was dominating Josh Hayes, but he did again land one of those illegal knees. I mean, geez, that's not even close, that one. Eventually, though, his pace and the volume of strikes just broke Josh down.
Bro, did he just not learn not to throw knees while he on the ground?
Everything Mike had promised his family, he'd done. The fan reception at the time was pretty positive, although some still saw him as a cocky and arrogant guy from the reality show who also had shown a tendency to illegally
Ken Shamrock?
His undeniable talent as a fighter had lots of fans eagerly awaiting what came next. But for Mike, his journey was just beginning, and he certainly wasn't quite the villain he'd become just yet.
Damn.
Chapter 2,
that ain't even
the bad guy.
They say he ain't even the bad guy yet.
Would be the paramedics coming in and waking him up with the smelling salts underneath his nose.
Although Mike was taken down several times in this fight by the submission expert Schaefer, Bisping kept up a relentless pace in round 1 and finished him. But Mike's real value to the UFC came overseas, and just a few months later, for the second time ever, the UFC were returning to the UK.
I sprinted to the octagon and went in there like a madman.
The event itself had sold out in minutes, but it was also a ton of pressure for Bisping to perform. crowd was so loud you cocould barely hear the commentary. Mike survived, and it only meant that the crowd roared even harder when he got the finish. Bisping had fought like an animal, full of aggression.
Well, I know that felt good.
Bisping gave
I know
the
that
fans
felt
what they
good.
came to see. But this is where our story takes a turn, because Mike's second fight in the UK did not underscore him as a national hero. In fact, it had the complete opposite effect. A fight with Matt Hamill was a tough finale fans never got to see, and UFC 75 on Spike TV, instead of pay-per-view, became the most watched MMA broadcast in North America, hitting nearly 6 million viewers at its peak.
Cole Cotman Congo?
Matt Hamill and the entire MMA world was watching, and Mike did not make a good impression. Even before the event happened though, Bisping was still having haters online. And then down in London, things didn't really go according to plan.
And I walked into there way too cool. I was waving at my mum, you know, waving at my girlfriend, stuff like that, you know. And Matt Hamill came out and tried to take my fucking head off in the first round.
Oh!
Bisping stand up. It doesn't look confident. It's very tentative the way he's coming in with that.
The rest of the fight kind of played out in the same way. When the scorecards were read, the majority of fans thought Hamill had won though, but that is not how the judges saw it.
For the winner, by split decision, Michael
Even at home in the UK, you could hear boos as he got on the mic.
How bad were you hurt?
Well, I admit I felt
Damn.
it. Who's the real winner of the Ultimate Fighter? The same one it always has been. Back to wrestling.
This fight has been viewed by the majority of the community as
What y'all
a
think?
robbery, made even worse because it happened at home in
Let me know what
England
y'all
for
think.
Mike.
That's
And
crazy.
not unlike when we saw recently with Paddy Pimblett, who dismissed his fight with Jared Gordon as being close, it only takes one moment
Paddy.
to completely turn a
I love
large
Paddy.
portion of fans against
Y'all want a
him.
Paddy vid? I love Paddy, personally. Paddy, one of my personal favorites. If y'all didn't
And the
know.
reaction to Bisping versus Hamill
Paddy.
was much, much worse. For many people, it
Paddy
was
from
and
UK?
still is the worst
I know.
robbery in UFC history. Kevin Ioli at the time wrote for Yahoo Sports, Bisping handled himself with so little class afterwards that his perception as one of the sport's good guys may have been shattered forever. At the post-fight press conference, Bisping was asked if he deserved the win, to which he replied, "Of course, why would you talk to me like that? Do you want to go 3 rounds? Of course I won the decision. Get that smile off your face." This kind of hostility in defending what most saw as a robbery also did not sit well with the hardcore fans that saw that, and it fueled claims that Bisping was too cocky for some of their liking.
Bro,
Mike did address all this.
Fighters gonna
He
be
said he
cocky.
looked at the message boards and understood why people were pissed. He said, "Looking back, I should have given Hamill more credit as he fought a great fight. I apologize to all my fans who feel let down. I'm a young man with a lot of emotion, and sometimes I say things in the heat of the moment." He then also did say he'd happily rematch Hamill, but it never happened. And to this day, when people mention robberies, it's one of the first fights that comes to mind. After
Damn.
back-to-back shows in the UK,
What?
Mike was heading to New Jersey now, just 2 months later, to take on another undefeated light heavyweight and Ultimate Fighter 2 winner, Rashad Evans.
And then I'm fighting my first main event in Newark, New Jersey, and I go out there and I'm fighting Rashad Evans. And I remember a coach of mine at the time said, "Mike, they're throwing you to the wolves."
It was an unofficial title eliminator, and it was also the first time ever a British fighter headlined a UFC card. Evans, though, had the superior grappling, and he kept taking Mike down. After 3 hard-fought rounds, Rashad was given the nod. Mike also realised, considering the size of Rashad, that perhaps he shouldn't be fighting at 205 anymore.
He was sat in the sauna with his whole team, with the sweatsuits on. He's trying to kill himself almost to make the weight. I was sat with these numpties that were training me at the time in a Chinese restaurant, eating noodles and drinking 7-Up.
And then down at 185 pounds, he started flying.
Wow! How good does Michael Bisping look?
I feel right now I can go through the majority of the middleweight division, go through them pretty easily, to be honest.
Performance by Michael Bisping.
It is all over!
That was the most impressive performance of Michael Bisping's UFC career.
Thank you so much, honestly.
UFC be hating on these highlights, bro.
Honestly, I could cry. I do not take it for granted, yeah? Every single one of you, thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Mike then got another
From the
test.
bottom of my
Bruce
heart.
Lieben, who was 8-3 in the
Ow.
UFC so far, with loads of knockouts, and fans at the time were kind of divided.
A win over Lieben will be a huge win for Michael Bisping.
Everything was riding on Mike's performance.
If he wins, I'm climbing under the table because the roof's going to collapse.
Lieben came forward with his zombie style, trying to take Bisping's head off.
Bisping absolutely tremendous with his footwork.
Bisping is using Lieben's aggression against him because he's just moving back and countering.
And he kept coming no matter what Mike hit him with. Some fans were again though immediately critical, saying Bisping had no KO power, with some stating that yeah, the win was good, but he also showed he has no chance against the higher level guys. Mike though was incredibly honest when he was asked if he deserved a title shot.
I don't think I'm there yet. I really don't. You know, you've got to earn that right. When I earn the opportunity, I want to be ready. There's only one place to go when you reach the top, and that's back down.
Then news broke that Lieben had popped for stanozolol.
Damn!
Some fans gave Mike's win even more credibility. Bisping had a great 2008 overall. He won 3 UFC fights, was now a middleweight, and had been voted by Zoo magazine the coolest British man of the year, beating out Daniel Craig and even David Beckham.
He beat out who? See, I don't know too many
man of the year,
British men. But Daniel Craig, I know. Michael Bisping more cooler than Daniel. What are we talking about?
And even
David
Beckham.
That's questionable.
He was a working man's hero, and then the UFC called again.
That's crazy.
With a massive opportunity. They wanted Bisping to return to the Ultimate Fighter, this time as a coach opposite Dan Henderson. The UK versus the US, and they built a whole season out of it. But it's not unlikely Bisping had a bit of a chip on his shoulder going into the show. He has said before, they wanted to portray me as the British bad guy, so after a while, I started playing up to it. You want a British bad guy?
I'm gonna get,
you a British bad
I like
guy.
the bad guy.
And once on the
Just
show,
let y'all know.
Mike was having a great time, taking the piss out of the Americans every chance he got.
We're gonna do it once. We're gonna do it once. Come on, America. This is what they all do. Team The only difference is though that we all want to fight right now. We'll fight any one of you right now. I don't think we can say the same about you boys.
And again, some fans thought Bisping was acting like a bit of a dick this season as well.
Hey.
What the you do that for?
Making message something the other day.
Yeah, you said that. No, that wasn't him.
No, I apologize for that.
Either way, you don't need to go on.
No, I apologize. That was wrong. No, it is. You're right. I'm out of order. I've got to apologize. I'm wrong.
It just made Bisping seem like, you know, he couldn't handle his emotions and was essentially
I ain't gonna lie. If that was Conor, he would have got popped. No, I'm playing. That was the Conor Glaze. I don't know where it came from. But if y'all want to see that Dan video, go react there after this video. That Dan video was crazy. I ain't gonna lie. Dan Henderson.
instigating a fight with one of the
check the UFC playlist though.
Which when you're supposed to be coaching is not really what you want to do.
Michael Bisping was a villain.
Didn't sit well with the fan base. Some of who thought he was also overall being super competitive, to the point where he was being a bit unfair, like when a fighter couldn't get his gum shield in because his teeth were stuck in it.
It won't fit now. Can we take a tooth out? Let's see if we can get his tooth out, doctor.
It's over.
Time out.
What tooth? His tooth got stuck in it.
He's lost his tooth. Hold on.
Time out.
If Bisping's intention had indeed been to
I
come
never
off as a
even
villain,
heard of
it had
those.
100% worked. Thousands of fans were riled up waiting to see the showdown at the biggest UFC card ever, UFC 100. This though was Dan Henderson, former two-weight Pride champion, one of the greatest fighters to ever live. Bisping was in for a rough night and the crowd absolutely let him know he was the bad guy. The fight began to the chants of USA as Henderson stalked Mike the entire time.
Man, Henderson looks good.
He looks very solid, Mike.
The right hand just kept getting closer and closer until...
Oh! I'm sorry, I've seen that before, but dang! But when you see it again, even in like picture by picture motion, that
Fatality.
that was nasty. He ain't have to drop down and hit him like that. He ain't have to do that. He wrong for that.
And this right here is revenge. That last right hand was ruthless. This right here is revenge. Down Michael Bisping! And this right here is revenge. That last right hand was ruthless.
It was and still is one of the most
That was
brutal
nasty.
KOs
Yeah.
in UFC history. And for a lot of fans at the time, they absolutely loved it.
Probably felt better to knock him out than for the bonus check. Right away, jumped on top of him to land another just to make sure that the fight was over. You know, it felt great to land that second shot. Probably more than the first shot.
I'm in the showers. I don't know where I am. I don't know what happened. I don't know how I got there. In my mind, I was fighting in 3 months' time. What's going on? They said, Michael, you've fought. You've just been knocked out. I'm like, no, I'm fighting in 3 months. They're like, Michael, you've just been knocked out. We need to take you to the hospital. I'm like, no, I'm fine.
Concussion. And the other problem was, you know, Bisping's behavior on Tough had made him even more of a villain than ever. He's even told a story of how he asked Dana to cut some of his worst moments from the season before it aired. But Dana had said, if you don't want to look like a dick on TV, don't act like a dick on TV. There were some fans who went so far as to say Bisping needed to get KO'd, suggesting he deserved to get humbled.
It hasn't phased me one little bit.
That's one thing I do hate about the internet. A lot of things people would like to throw around that word. He got humble, bro. Everybody take L's. You can't go through life without taking L's.
I mean, I'm fighting in November. I just wish it could have been sooner.
But he definitely
Mike's
probably needed to be humble.
was booked at home in Manchester, and he showed up under tons of pressure against Dennis Kang, and he put on a fight of the night.
You will see, bro. Y'all gotta let these highlights, man. Come on, man. I want to see that.
Tough guy, and in my opinion, had the performance of his career.
I'm gonna walk right in and blow Jorge. Blow through Jorge. Fucking, you know, he make a Bisping, you know, fuck off, you know. I like the beaters.
I have respect for all of his professional jobs. Postman, DJ, and professional decision winner. You hear the same thing over and over again.
What is going on here?
Just like Hitler, Pol Pot, Mussolini, Stalin.
Rivera's talking a lot of smack about where I come from. Where I come from, you don't talk smack about where Michael Bisping comes from.
80% of the koala bears in Australia right now have chlamydia. So Michael...
What?
Mike's wife is Australian, and he took it personally. According to Bisping, even his kids started getting teased at school about the videos, and it really pissed off Mike.
What videos?
Jorge a racist. While it's hard to know if Bisping is telling the entire truth here, it is truly awful.
Hold on, so I couldn't understand what he was saying in the video. That's the thing. So I couldn't really. But okay, his wife is Australian. Okay.
If his kids were being harassed. But what makes that doubtful, I suppose, is the reason that most of us even know about these videos is only because of Bisping's reaction to them, as we'll soon see. Most people by far, saw these videos as pretty silly or just kind of cheesy and harmless. Not how Bisping saw it, and either way, Michael's response was seen as a massive overreaction. That's when Jorge's team thought Bisping was really being a dick, and so released the infamous video.
You ever met my friend Bisping? He's the biggest dick in the whole wide world. He's a mean old dick and he has stupid hair. He's a dick.
You know, the guy has acted like an idiot and he's made a fool out of himself. And for his children, his family, all going to watch him. Have you seen the state of him on how he's behaving?
Bro, what is going on,
It's ridiculous.
No doubt Bisping was fired up. The animosity was boiling. And while Rivera may have started it with fun and games in mind, it was turning into some bad blood.
I'll be ready. See, won't we? You're gonna back all that up now. Pathetic.
Trying to get caught, I'm a professional fighter. I'm not an idiot in the schoolyard making up silly rhymes and jokes and making stupid videos. I was the first time involved in something like this. Welcome to the big leagues. After this, you'll be back to the undercard, believe me. Jorge is a relic. He's a throwback to the beginning of mixed martial arts. I'm a complete mixed martial artist, and I'll be showing him that on the night.
These two couldn't wait to fight, and Mike was staring him down as soon as they got in the cage. Round one started, but after just 3 minutes, just as it was heating up, Mike did something that would earn him a spot as #1 villain in the whole of the UFC.
Flips off referee's corner.
The same strike we've seen Mike throw several times, and he literally raises his hand in celebration while Rivera is trying to recover. Jorge was clearly compromised from the illegal shot. The fight continued, but he was never back in it, and come the second round, Bisping swarmed him and ended it with a right hand. But that's not all. As soon as the fight had been stopped, Mike walked over to Rivera's corner and spat at his coach. But Bisping wasn't done. He walked over to Rivera, and even Mark Goddard tried to stop him.
Mike, no. Mike,
I'd have done this fight for free. Truly believe he went below the belt. Talk trash, talk smack, whatever, but I think the guy went not one step too far, but several steps too far, you know? You know, it doesn't feel good to have hundreds of thousands of people around the world laughing at your expense. I had to win this fight, and I had to do it in style.
But any apologies Mike was making for his behaviour fell on deaf ears. They just saw the same guy acting the same way from Tough Season 1.
I'm a very emotional guy. You know, I wear my heart on my sleeve. And
that was an illegal knee, though, Mike. I understand, Mike. I understand. But that was a legal knee, though, Mike. You can't knee the man and then act like you just, you know, beat the man up in spectacular fashion. Nigga, you needy.
Too much sometimes. I'm a little bit disappointed in myself for the antics post-fight there a little bit. His cornerman was still screaming abuse at me, calling me a mother and this and that.
Did you deliberately spit at his corner?
No, not at all. I was spitting on the floor to let him know what I thought of him. Now, I apologise for that, you know. I never want to
Nah, spitting on somebody, I ain't gonna lie. You piece I ain't gonna lie. That spit on somebody, you piece of shit. I ain't saying he a piece of shit, but I'm saying that's some dickhead. That's some shit you can't come from. If a nigga spit at me, I'm trying to get, bro.
I apologise for losing my cool.
Bisping was, in fact, fined his win bonus, which is a hell of a lot of money. And you want to hear what Dana thought?
I think that the knee was intentional, and I think he absolutely meant to spit on that guy. I've never accidentally spit on anybody. You know what I mean?
That's a fact. That's a fact.
The UFC were then bringing back Jason Mayhem Miller, an absolute character in the MMA world, and someone who could match him perfectly for another season of The Ultimate Fighter was Michael Bisping. Bisping, though, was now perhaps the most hated guy on the UFC roster. Going into another season of The Ultimate Fighter with that on his back, well, he seemed more than ever happy to rub the US coaches the wrong way.
Hey, I know you're mentally handicapped, but you got to be physically handicapped, part there.
He kept winding those guys up, and it got to the point where one of Mayhem's team just couldn't control himself anymore and said what a lot of the fans were thinking.
Go spit on someone. Go spit on someone. Go spit on someone again.
Take it like a man. You lost the fight. Just take it like a man.
I'm fine. I hate the guy in the UFC. I get it now. I didn't get it before. I get it now.
And then when an altercation happened on the show, he went after that same coach again, a bit more aggressively this time.
Relax. What the f*** are you talking to, you prick?
Hey, what the f*** are you talking to?
Push me, you
Hey, bro. Yeah, I've just pushed you.
Don't you ever
It's understandable that a lot of fans saw Mike as being overly competitive and just overly aggressive yet again.
So Mike. Oh, it is. Get out. All right, we'll see you guys later. Come on, guys.
Pushing people, you pussy.
Come on, team.
By the time of the finales and fight night, though, Michael was again undoubtedly the villain in many fans' eyes, and he was showered with boos at the official weigh-ins.
Damn!
To be fair, though, he was going up against the returning cult hero Mayhem.
Now boo this man.
Not even Joe Rogan could help. Bisping battered Jason from the opening bell to the end of the fight. It was totally one-sided. People didn't really cheer when that one was over. It was kind of just a bit quiet. I mean, despite the flawless win, they even booed the decision.
You're all booing, whatever. I'm here to entertain. I feel that me and Jason put on a fantastic season of The Ultimate Fighter. Congratulations, Jason.
And that finally got a round of applause. Mike was peeling back the layers a little.
For all the boos that Michael Bisping gets as a fighter, he deserves your applause.
Chapter 3. Becoming the hero.
Damn.
On the back of his longest UFC win streak at 4 fights, Bisping was booked in another title eliminator against Chael Sonnen.
Well, for those of you that can't see, this is the World Championship title of which I took from Anderson Silva.
Yeah, I think you can get him on eBay for about $29.99. He's the best boxer. He's the Muhammad Ali.
Oh, and Dana White just really feel on his shit like, is that real?
From Anderson Silva.
Yeah, I think you can get them on eBay.
Dana like, bro, is that real?
He's the best boxer. He's the Muhammad Ali. He's the champ. He's everything. I outbox him every day, all day. He's a great wrestler, but I'm a great fighter.
You're looking at the reflection of perfection, the one that gets all your attention. This was Anderson Silva's belt. I took his belt like a gangster in the night.
The best fighter doesn't always win. The guy who fights best wins, and I'm going to fight the best. And he can keep his fake belt. Just shove it up his ass.
What you gonna do when you know who? How you gonna deal with the Man of Steel? And how will you react to Sonnen's attack?
A shot at the champion was on the line, and it was a fight that Mike was determined to show up for. But Chael constantly tried to take him down, and it was an incredibly competitive contest. We went to the scorecards, with the fans still booing Bisping before they'd even been read. They gave it to Chael via split decision, but even he admitted it had been super close.
I got hit so hard in the first round. He hurt me so bad that it's one of those deals. I didn't fully understand where we were, what we were doing. I'm not going to disparage anything that he did. He's a tough fight.
Personally, I feel I got the first 2 rounds, but the oldest saying out there, never let it go to the judges.
But none of this did anything to advance Mike further towards his goal of becoming the champ. After losing to Anderson Silva in 2010, Chael Sonnen had tested positive for elevated levels of testosterone. Chris Lieben had also tested positive after his fight with Bisping, and similar things could be said about Dan Henderson.
Chill out on Dan with that TRT, man.
Became the
Chill
first
out.
fighter to receive a TRT exemption from doctors.
Chill out.
Timeline that matches up with when he KO'd Bisping.
KO'd me.
Even Vanderlei Silva, who Bisping had lost to,
The
had been
Savage.
performance enhancers for much of his own career. The point was, Michael Bisping kept having to fight against guys who were abusing the system.
I can't let you get close.
And after he beat and took another unanimous decision over Brian Stan at UFC 152, the UFC booked him against one of the biggest drug cheats of the era, Vitor Belfort.
Bro, why y'all keep seeing? I gotta do a video on Vitor because y'all be talking crazy on Vitor in the comments, but y'all be telling me to do Vitor. But he be talking about, see, I gotta do Vitor now.
The UFC, Joe Rogan, I remember he said, if I beat Vitor Belfort, I'm next in line for a title shot.
Pray to the MMA gods. Vitor Belfort does not enter that fucking thing juiced to the gills.
Oh, he's
Have you seen
going
his tits
to.
lately? Oh my God.
Yeah. He was at a level with his testosterone that no human ever reaches.
What?
You don't get there. It's not real.
Vitor Belfort at the time was looking like one of the most jacked athletes to ever do it. It also didn't help
We
that
gotta watch
Bisping
him.
was taunting him during the lead up to the fight as well. That was going down in Brazil.
Bisping leans over to Vitor and says, Jesus isn't real. Which, in retrospect, probably wasn't the best thing to say to...
Well, for what though, bro? What is? I don't know why that's so funny, but why did he say that like quietly and whisper that to in his ear?
Bisping leans over to Vitor and says, Jesus isn't real. Which, in retrospect, probably wasn't the best thing to say to a juiced up TRT Vitor.
Belfort fought like
he was just on TRT?
That night. He stopped Mike in round 2 with a devastating head kick.
There it is again, that left high kick. And Bisping is opened up and in all sorts of trouble. That'll do it. Vitor Belfort has done it.
First, I outboxed him. And I got caught with a fucking head kick. Yes, he was on steroids. You can call it TRT if you want. I prefer to give it its real name and call it steroids because that's what it is.
But Bisping was absolutely not going to let this setback, you could call it his fourth title eliminator, stop him.
But I ain't going away. I'm going to keep trying and trying and trying.
Was that TRT that bad? So was Dan Henderson on TRT, but he was on like a level where it was maintained though. Like I gotta watch Vitor now, bro, because I gotta see what Vitor was
Until the
on.
day I retire, as long as I can keep fighting.
Vitor's on a lot of head
But
kicks though.
Mike was about to have the scare of his life. After the fight with Vitor, he started having problems with his eyesight.
I crept in like this and it stopped there. It's like the curtains hadn't been shut all the way. And if I closed this side, that's all I could see. I think I've got a detached retina. And they said, well, why do you say that? I said, because when I put my hand in front of my face and wiggle my fingers, I can't fucking see them.
It was the Vitor fight that did it, and I slowly started getting symptoms. They said, yeah, you got a detached retina. They fixed that. It redetached. I got glaucoma.
Dana White calls, and he says, have you spoken to your doctor? I said, no. He said, well, I have. I said, right, okay, go on. What'd he say? And he said, well, I'll just cut to the chase. He said, you're never going to fight again. After recovery, I wake up one morning with a
He was blind and what?
headache. The pain in my head was like nothing I'd ever experienced, ever. My wife called my doctor. A regular person's eye pressure is between 9 and 20. They checked my pressure, it was like 90-something.
Bisping's eye was in terrible condition, but despite that, he managed to keep it hidden from UFC doctors, and he was determined to fight in April, just 2 months later, against Alan Belcher.
I fucking lied to so many doctors, and I had to do this
He
test
was
where
out
you
here
look at this thing, and there's all these lights, you know, and you push a button when you see the light pop up. I just fucking guessed it. I'm like, oh.
You just guessed it?
I guessed it and I passed. And this doctor says, I'm just going to walk this man to the car. Go into my office, make yourself at home. I can get in, because I walked in and the eye test was there. You got to have 2200 vision to pass, which is still clinically blind. But on an eye test, it's the big one at the top and then the two underneath it, so still pretty big. The
B, E, spin it round, C, D, E. So I remembered all three. So he covers up my bad eye first. D, D, da, 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 go through it all. Very good. And then he doesn't move it round. And that's where these couple of shitty acting lessons I had paid off. I'm like, D, C, E. I'm like, oh. Couldn't see a fucking thing. And he's like, okay, you've passed.
At this point, it was Michael's
that's
20th
crazy,
fight with the UFC.
bro.
He was going into
Bro.
ranked number 4, and he absolutely could
With
not
one
afford to lose
eye?
this fight, and he looked extra emotional on his way to the cage. Alan Belcher himself had previously had eye issues, and at the time, no one knew what Bisping was dealing with. And with just 30 seconds left in the 3rd round, Mike accidentally poked Alan in his surgically repaired eye.
And you're talking, that's a guy who has had detached retina surgery. 2 surgeries.
Oh!
That kept him out of action for 16 months. Oh, man. This fight's over, folks.
Belcher would later tweet that he was okay, but he would never fight again in MMA. The
Damn!
fight, though, was declared a technical
Damn, Bisping done, bro. Bro, Bisping,
decision,
bro.
considering there was so little time left, so it went to the judges and Bisping got the win. But Mike's own eye problems were just beginning. He appeared on the MMA Hour wearing a black eye patch and admitted his retina had fully detached, but the surgery went wrong because of excess scar tissue. We wouldn't see Bisping compete for another 7 months as he attempted to let his eye heal, and in his return fight, he took on the newly arrived from Strikeforce Tim Kennedy.
He does fight cheap.
Yeah.
You know, he does grab shorts. He does grab the cage. He does poke. He does kick the groin when he's tired. He will knee a down opponent. He'll spit on their corner. I mean, these are things that he has habitually done.
He's relentlessly mocked me. Of course I take offense at that. It's a professional sport. I'm a professional athlete. I will act accordingly.
I can make fun of him all the way walking up to the cage, and it wouldn't affect how I'm gonna fight.
And after we're done, forget it. Walk away. Don't talk to me. Don't come to my dressing room and, shake hands afterwards. I'm going to make an example of him. Our association is done.
Tim was also in charge of Ranger Up, which happened to be the people behind the channel Jorge Rivera worked with when he fought Bisping.
It's been a tough year. I detached the retina, had the surgery, there was complications on top of that as well. So pretty much everything that can go wrong with an eye went wrong with me.
How the fuck do you reattach a retina? Like, how do you do that? Like, do you gotta go in? Oh my god!
And yeah, it was tough.
This fight was pretty brutal for Bisping fans. Tim Kennedy controlled much of it with his top game. Tim took unanimous decision, and for many it signaled the end of any chance Michael Bisping would ever have to win a world title. The idea of Bisping as a contender anytime soon went away in fans' minds. But that's when he instead put on a career best performance. Mike took on the former Strikeforce champ Kung Lee, and he left him absolutely destroyed. And with that win also came a call out.
This is what I'm capable of, and believe me, I'm capable of better. I want the title. There's an idiot called Luke Rockhold who doesn't stop talking about me. I'm going to beat Luke Rockhold, and then I'm taking the title.
Rockhold was ranked 5 and absolutely in line for a belt, and a win could take Bisping there. Their beef had started when Bisping started talking about a sparring session they had had.
And I went, well, let's just say I'm the unofficial Strikeforce champion. And I laughed. Everybody laughed. But I'll fucking knock you out. Take one step. You ever knocked out? Your boy last weekend, you fucking prick. Call it a fucking knockout? Yeah. Look at you, you're pathetic.
When have you ever looked at a good example? I've never been spitting on people's corners. I've never been finished. Oh, that's a good original one.
Bisping was a massive underdog. Everyone knew it, and it's also hard to boo the underdog. But just 2 minutes in, after a headbutt from Rockhold, a cut opened above Bisping's good eye. And it was just a matter of time before Rockhold connected.
The front leg. Oh, the head kick. Bisping's down. This could be the finish. Wow.
He made him. Damn. Oh, Bisping can't catch a break, huh? Yeah.
After all the things Mike had said, he hadn't been able to back any of it up. He was now looked at as a journeyman of the division. But there was a lot of sympathy that was starting to generate for Bisping as well. From the injuries he sustained from the opponents that had been on PEDs, over the next 6 months, Mike was first matched up with CB Dollaway. It wasn't a fight that particularly had a lot of stakes, but if Bisping wanted any chance at redemption, he had to keep winning. Mike took it to him for 15 minutes and won the decision. These wins were doing little to change his narrative. But a win over the next opponent on an 8-fight win streak, Talis Latis, would definitely mean more. And he ate some big shots in this fight, but he kept moving and kept outworking Latis. Early 2016, the UFC were once again returning to the O2 in London, and of course, still being a massive start in the UK, they wanted Bisping to headline. and it was going to be against a man who had been on Bisping's mind since he first joined the UFC, and a man who had been ringside for Mike's first UFC fight.
Dana called, offered it Anderson Silva, and of course, it changes everything. You know, this is a huge fight, biggest fight of my career. I'm returning to London. You think you're gonna punch me? Come on, man.
Okay, too old. Okay, too old.
Yeah, I'm old.
You're old.
You know, I'm old, but I'm more smart.
Bisping, though, pulled no punches in the lead up to this one and called out Anderson.
Don't do, yo, I'm not with no Anderson Silva slander, bro. I'm not riding.
No, I understand. But give me a hug. This is your chance. You need to prove for the people. You have the chance for.
You need to prove that you can do it not on steroids. You need to prove that you can. No. All your life.
Don't worry.
All your life on steroids.
Hey.
Bisping was kind of being himself here, as usual. A bit of a dick, sure, but I mean, he actually had a pretty good reason to be pissed off. I mean, he'd lost an eye.
He ain't got no reason to be pissed off at Anderson Silva, bro. Stop it. That nigga lost every fight. Also, all of them on steroids, all the fights he lost. I'm sorry, I can't. I'm not doing no Anderson Silva slander. Stop it.
To someone who treated the system before.
The fact of the matter is, he tested positive for performance-enhancing drugs in his last fight. A cynic would lead one to believe.
See, when niggas get
his whole career. Shame on him. How he calls himself a martial art.
Now I don't folks. See, niggas like Bisping, bro. See, I don't. Yeah, you see, now you doing too much, bro. The call one of the greatest fighters of all time, not a real martial artist. Nigga, I don't care how clean you is, my boy. Get some W's. Get some wins first.
Artist and takes performance-enhancing drugs.
Didn't say that.
Just one win here would change how people looked on Bisping's entire career.
If I win, it will validate a lifetime's hard work, but it will put me in a good position to contend for the belt. That's what I've always wanted. It's still a desire that burns within me.
And Bisping was again, for the first time in many years, no longer in hostile territory, no longer automatically the enemy, and he was given a hero's welcome home. It quickly turned into an absolute classic, with Anderson coming forward aggressively and Bisping rocking him at the end of round one.
Good shots from Bisping. Anderson looked wrong for a second, but he's fired up.
This fight was a war, and the pace picked up in the third round, and with 10 seconds left, Mike's mouthpiece fell out, and while he was asking for it back, Silva swarmed him.
Bisping's ready.
Done.
Oh! Jumping knee! Michael goes down!
That is the buzzer.
And I remember being slumped on the floor like this, there's blood pouring out of my face, and I looked up at the referee, and I go, I'm not out. And it's Herb Dean. He says, I know, fight's not over. I'm like, okay.
Mike looked in terrible shape, cuts all over his face and bleeding, but the ref, Herb Dean, never actually called an end to the fight, and Mike came out and impossibly won the fourth round and the fight.
Michael!
Nah, let me stop. He probably won. I ain't.
I wanted this fight my entire life. I'm just a guy from a very normal background, and you guys have been in my corner every time. Thank you so much. I worship this guy. This guy is the greatest martial artist of all time. The respect I have to you, for you cannot measure. Anderson, thank you.
The rest of the MMA
world was Bisping made me so mad, bro.
Praised what a warrior he was.
Bisping is one of the toughest fucking men on the planet.
God.
That dude has one eyeball. Okay,
Straight
he
up
got
one eye.
knocked out dead at the end of the third round. Came back and won the fourth.
One of the greatest displays of heart, will, grit, determination that I've ever seen.
The wheels of fate had somehow all started spinning Michael Bisping's way, and it wasn't over.
They ain't
Shortly
movies?
After that, he'd suddenly get the call of a lifetime while on set shooting a movie.
I'm shooting the new Triple X. Chris Weidman out of his fight with Luke Rockhold. So I text Dana White. If either of them can't make it, I'm in. Jacare's our first option. If he won't take it, then you're in.
Mike believed there was no way Jacare Souza wasn't going to take the championship fight. Plus, he hadn't even been training, he'd been busy filming, but little did he know.
My phone starts lighting up like a Christmas tree. And I look, congrats on the fight, congrats on the fight. Dana White had been on SportsCenter and announced that I was fighting for the world title. I get on the scale and I'm like 217 pounds. So I'm running through the streets of Toronto like a madman. The negative emotion started creeping in. I'm like, this is so typical of my career. Typical of Michael Bisping, right? I get a title fight that I've always wanted. I get it on 2 weeks' notice when I haven't been training against a guy that's already beat me. I called my boxing coach. You've been training your entire life for this moment.
The build-up to the rematch with Luke got incredibly hostile. More hostile than the first. Luke had animosity towards Mike for even thinking he could beat him short notice, and for Bisping, he had to more than ever believe in himself. Everything was on the line for the count.
I said I chose you.
Oh, okay, so you chose me. Well, you chose wrong, like I said. I'm walking off a movie set, I'm gonna whoop your ass, mate, in front of the world.
If you believe in something, if you know something is gonna happen, if you're confident in that situation, you will achieve things in life. Believe it, and you achieve it.
Sounds like the worst self-help book you've ever read. Conceive, believe, achieve. Shut the fuck up.
Rockhold entered the fight as a minus 530 favourite, seen as the more dynamic, younger, faster, and more well-rounded martial artist. But this was everything to Bisping. Literally everything he'd worked for his whole life. Every training session, every loss, every missed title eliminator, he'd finally got his shot. He was here to make history.
Drop him!
Supported me every step of the way. If it wasn't for her, my family, my dad, my mother, the support of the UK, I could not have done this. I'm an average guy. This is my dream. Nobody was taking this away from me. 2 days, 2 hours, 2 minutes. I'll buy anyone, apart from my children and my wife. This is the greatest day of my life. Thank you all.
Short notice, massive underdog, lifelong career. It's hard to hate on that. And more than that, what could the haters even say?
Nah, that's crazy. But it's tough when like an opponent get a shot at the title when he probably didn't deserve a shot at the title. And you probably weren't even training for him, but that's crazy. He got it done. He got it done.
If you counted out Mike for years, well, he just KO'd the new champion, a guy in Luke who everyone thought was the future of the division. Luke was pissed, and I understand why. Mike had also jumped on the cage and shouted F you at him after the win.
You know, I believe I had control of that fight from the beginning, and I just overcommitted, and he caught me. That guy's such a dick. I mean, you show your true colors after a fight, and that fucking guy comes up to me and says, you know where you are, huh? Fucking picked you up off the canvas and gave you respect. That guy's a piece of shit. I'm gonna fucking come kill him.
But in walked Mike, beer in one hand, belt over his shoulder, and he just laid into Luke.
I shook your hand, and you said, I already shook your hand and told me to fuck off, basically.
Do you know who you are? Do you know where you are?
Hey, buddy, you got knocked the fuck out. You got knocked out, buddy. Sit down, shut up.
You got lucky.
All right,
lucky.
Yeah, real lucky.
Bisping.
First round, buddy. What an asshole, guys.
Seeing Rockhold finally
defeated Michael
after
Bisping is, he a dick. Yeah, he a dickhead, I can't lie.
Also had been viewed as cocky by the fan base was one thing, but Mike was also clearly having a good time rubbing it a bit in his face, and a lot of the fans watching thought it was hilarious.
This man can't compete with me.
Are you saying you say I can't compete with you? Is that what I heard, everybody? I just knocked you out in the first round. Cold. Have you seen that replay, buddy?
But Bisping also did one better. He actually opened up on his behavior over the years, on being what some people would have called a bit of a dick, and kind of just coming clean about it all.
Yeah, I know I'm a loudmouth idiot at times, you know, and I can be a dick, I know I can, but I'm just out there trying to look after my family, look after my children, and give them the best life possible, with the only way I know I can.
You ain't gotta do all that to give your family the best life.
Honestly, if there was one major turning point in Mike's career,
it's I do to give my family the best life.
Beloved, it was this fight. Not just his performance, but his courage in stepping up and accepting it against all odds when everyone knew he'd spent 10 years waiting for this chance.
I've done things to be considered a bad guy over the course of my career. I know I have. I've acted like an idiot, but I've grown and matured in front of the world, to be honest. I look back and I cringe at some of the things I've said in the past. That's just how I am. I constantly make mistakes, but I try not to make the same one twice.
This kind of transparency honestly kind of showed a side of Bisping that a lot of fans hadn't seen before. Perhaps the losses over the years had changed him as a person, because they'd certainly changed him in the eyes of the fans into someone they respected for continuing to push forward, and now that he finally had the title, his entire career was validated.
And I want to thank you for bringing out the best in me. And I know for all the bullshit, Luke, come on, we're just two individuals trying to achieve greatness and be at the top of our games. I respect Luke greatly, and he has a victory over me, and I have one over him now. You know, there's no reason why we can't do a third one down the line.
It will be a short-lived destiny, I promise you.
You just can't let it go, can you?
He received further personal redemption when his first title defense ended up being against Dan Henderson at home in Manchester, and in winning the decision, he avenged the worst loss of his career as a champion in front of thousands of screaming hometown fans. Of course, many fans had also been upset that it hadn't been against one of the top middleweight contenders, and instead he had defended against an aging legend, Dan Henderson, who was ranked number 13,
like he better
but the
leave.
fight had been incredibly tough. Bisping was dropped by the same right hand that had shut his lights out, and it turned into another grueling, gritty comeback performance from Mike that just showed every bit of his heart. The following year, many people expected Mike to face off with Yoel Romero, a fight that fans wanted to see, and some suggested Mike was ducking. But when GSP announced a return to the sport and he wanted to challenge for the middleweight title, not only was it a meeting of the two men who held the most wins in the UFC ever, but things dramatically didn't go Mike's way. But even still, Bisping again put on a resilient performance, and George St. Pierre only praised Mike post-fight.
Man, I wouldn't like to do that fight again. Oh, Michael is, man, he's the toughest guy I've fought. This man is amazing. He's a true example of hard work and perseverance in the sport. So Michael, man.
George St. Pierre just a great guy,
Bisping would
bro.
take just one more fight 3 weeks later in the same month against Kelvin Gastelum after the main event fell out in China. But we didn't know at the time this fight would end up being his last. At this stage, no one really knew what was going on behind the scenes, as his severe eye issues were certainly kept secret from the world this whole time, and he was continually trying to get past commissions. So as a result of how bad things were getting now in his other eye, he knew he had to stop.
His
other eye? Struck. A lot of people have fight careers and don't lose an eye. If something goes wrong with your good eye, you'll go blind. Lightning's not going to strike twice. And every time I look left and then look back, I just have a flash of light. And he was sitting in this bar, and everyone's dancing and having a good time and stuff, you know. And I'm starting to cry. I'm starting to well up. I'm gonna go fucking blind. You know, we had a few drinks and forgot all about it. Came to on an aeroplane, flying home, and I sat up. I'm like, oh God, I need a drink of water. I said, excuse me, to the air hostess. And then when I look there, when I look back, flash of light again. I'm like, fuck, because I've forgotten all about it, you know what I mean? But then that was it. I'm like, right, that's enough now.
Yeah.
Fearing the worst, Mike decided it was finally time to hang up the gloves, and shortly after, the UFC acknowledged him with the Hall of Fame. After all the old antics and things he did that caused himself trouble in the past, it was clear over time he had indeed earned fans' respects and adoration around.
Is he a Hall of Famer though? See, I love the career. You know what I'm saying? I love the story and everything, but Hall of Famer? He did win the championship, but Hall of Famer though?
On the world, against all the odds. It was in 2019 he transitioned into MMA commentary after several years on UFC Tonight and getting his feet wet as an analyst. And in my opinion, he fit in really well with the rest of the broadcast in both instances. Many fans saw him in this role for the first time as a veteran Hall of Famer who had a ton of wisdom to share, but also loads of jokes to crack as well. He competed in the UFC at the highest level for 10 years, and more than that, what he did for an entire country in the UK and mixed martial arts has far-reaching consequences that we couldn't even begin to unpack. And he cemented that legacy by becoming the first UK champion ever, something that has now been repeated multiple times. After all the praise for his contemporaries like GSP, who'd go on to say in his autobiography that Bisping was the greatest martial artist he ever faced. The honest reflections on his behaviour over the years and all the comical moments he provided, it was hard for anyone to hate the guy. The Count was who he was, and he was finally embraced by the fan base for it. And it's been so long now that, in fact, as I said right at the start, many fans have absolutely no idea that behind the cheeky smile and British banter, there was once never a man more hated than Michael Bisping, and now there are few who are more beloved.
I ain't gonna lie though, Michael Bisping's a dickhead, but he's a dickhead. I can't lie. But look, man, like, comment, subscribe, man. Let me know in the comments what y'all think about Michael Bisping, man. Let me know where y'all gotta rank that. And is he actually a Hall of Fame? I don't think he is. Y'all let me know if I'm tripping or not, man. But I'm gonna see y'all in the next video. Y'all already know what's going on. No cap.